Welcome to Spoiled to Perfection, the show that unlocks the magic behind food techniques such as pickling, fermenting, curing, spicing, salting, and curdling, just to name a few. Here on the show, we always explore amazing food alchemy, and we get to meet some really talented people. Today's episode is a little bit different. Here's the deal. I'm gonna teach you how to make wine at home. Yeah, you can make wine at home. It's really not that hard. And you don't have to be in Sonoma County, California. You can be in Apex, North Carolina, Nacogdoches, Texas, or even Rancho Cucamonga. Trust me, I'm a professional. As the head winemaker for Adobe Winery, this is what I get to do every day. I carefully guide grapes through the process of fermentation, aging, and bottling. Today, we're gonna explore winemaking in two ways. First, I'm gonna walk you through home winemaking, everything you're gonna need and how to make a batch of your very own wine. Then, we'll explore Adobe Winery and talk about home winemaking versus professional winemaking. We'll finish up by walking through a tasting of my homemade wine and contrast that with Adobe wine. We'll talk about all the choices that go into winemaking and how they affect the taste of that finished wine in your glass. I started out by popping into my favorite fermentation supply store, The Beverage People. They have beer, wine, and home cheese-making supplies for the home producer. There are so many stores like these in major markets, and they have a ton of resources to help you get started. They also have knowledgeable staff who can help answer questions, whip up a recipe, or weld you a stainless steel brew tank. Whether you're just getting started or are trying to launch your career, this is a fantastic place to go. So I've taken a few steps to get everything ready. I've got most of my equipment and my supplies right here, and I've also got my assistant winemaker, Isaac, here to do the heavy lifting. Isaac, can you say hi? Hello. Today we're gonna make a red wine, and we're gonna use a combination of fresh grapes and also grape concentrate. So we're gonna begin the way every good wine begins, by smashing some grapes. Are you ready, Isaac, to smash some grapes? So while Isaac's doing that, I'm gonna start loading up some of the wood chips into the fermenter here. We put the oak chips in order to help the aromas and the color stability. Aromas, baby, because that's what it's all about. Before you taste the wine, you actually smell the wine, just like with food. So yeah, baby. So it's important to make sure it smells good, and also the tannins from this oak help the color stability too. So it'll help maintain a good red color throughout the life of the wine. Ta-da! Now we get to do a pretty fun part. Gently smash them. Let's start taking loads of grapes, and we're gonna, as you continue smashing, I'm gonna load them up into here. And then I'm gonna use the spoon to sort of push them through. We're gonna get some grapes too. Look at that, Isaac. Getting the grapes in. Yeah, so keep smashing them up, and I'm gonna load them in. So winemaking is a messy process. It is a messy thing, but it's great to make something with your hands. Safety first when opening cans, people. Woo! Okay. All right, so we're gonna add some of this in. You ready? Da, 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 da. Then what we need to do is add a little bit of acid to the water. Just a little bit will do. Because naturally, grapes would have a whole bunch of acid to it, especially this acid, the tartaric acid. And Isaac, can you add the rest of this water jug into here?
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby. Whoa. I'm gonna add a little bit more acid. What you getting over there? The top of it? Oh man. And then a little bit, here, let's turn around this way. A little bit of tannin powder. Can you take a couple pinches of this tannin powder? Or you probably don't want to touch that again, huh? Yeah. And put it in there, just like this. And what I have in here now, tap a little bit of that in there. And again, I'm not weighing anything. This is sort of like cooking. Winemaking is a lot like cooking. Brewing beer is a lot like baking, where you need to be super exact. But winemaking is just a whole lot of to taste kind of ingredients.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby. I'm gonna do that. So now what I have in here is a little bit of concentrate, and I have some acid, and I have some tannin.
I'm not falling for this one.
You're not gonna fall for that one again, huh? All right. So we have that soupy, sort of powdery, and we're gonna add that in.
Not
So we're gonna add some more water. So this tube has the hydrometer in it. The hydrometer, Isaac, you were just looking at this a minute ago, right? It's got little lead balls and it's got wax that holds them down. And then what we do is we make the juice float the hydrometer. So watch this. Put this inside. I'm putting my finger over it to keep any grape seeds or skins or any of the blocks of wood from getting in there. So right now, we're just a little bit over 20 in terms of our bricks. We're almost at 25. And that will equate to like a 14% alcohol, something like that, if it all ferments through. So I'm really happy about that. Hey, where'd the yeast nutrient go? The yeast food. Oh, there it is. All right, so we're gonna take a little bit of this and we're gonna add it in here. Put a little bit more water in. Oop, that one's empty. Let's use this one. Yep. So we're gonna mix up the yeast food. Now the yeast food is important because that's gonna give all the nutrients inside of here a place for it's something for the yeast to eat besides just the sugar. There's a lot of good vitamins and minerals inside of here, and that will help the yeast eat. Can you pour this right in here really carefully? What do you think? Oh, that's okay. That's okay. You're getting it mostly in. There you go. Perfect. Now we're gonna go for the yeast. So this, Isaac, is what the yeast looks like when it's fully hydrated and it's living. You see how it's got the bubbles on top? It was like this, freeze dried. So it's just little pieces, like almost like little balls, like little yeasty balls. And then once you hydrate them and add just a little bit of sugar to it, they start foaming up like that. Do you want to add the yeast in here? What do you think? Want to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's this. I'm gonna put the funnel up. All right, man. And pitch it in. This is called pitching the yeast. Woohoo!
Some yeast is still on the tray.
Some yeast is still there. That's
And
true.
it's still here.
Yep.
Now
Okay.
I have to see if there's
So look
any
at that. You can see all the yeasties sort of floating down in there. You see that? How there's just sort of floating? They're gonna start their life and they're gonna start living inside of there and eating all the sugar and making CO2, little bubbles that come up, and they're gonna start making alcohol, and that's what fermentation is. So the other thing that we need to do to make sure that this is protected is put an airlock on it. The airlock will keep air from coming in, but it will let all of the CO2 come right on out. So we just put this right on top of here, and now we have
homemade wine.
almost homemade wine. This is called must at this stage, and as it ferments, it's gonna turn into wine. Okay, all right, so our DIY wine kit is put away to bubble and ferment. So right in front of me here is actually a carboy wine that I made 2 weeks ago in prep for today. What I'm gonna do is start racking it right now with this tube, which means that I'm gonna take the good wine right here in the middle into this carboy, and I'm gonna leave behind the grapes that are up here because they've all been spent. We got all the flavor out of them, and we're gonna leave behind this sludge down here, which we call lees. So it's like little bits of yeast and grape solids, things that are kind of heavy, so they just fall out. We're gonna talk about how this tastes up against what we produce over at Adobe Road Winery. I'm gonna show you what a professional winemaking operation looks like, and then we're gonna taste this homemade wine against what we do at Adobe Road. And it's gonna be really fun. We're gonna talk about some of the differences between homemade wine and professionally made wine and how it ends up in your glass. Well, here we are at Adobe Road Winery. This is a small, family-run boutique operation here in Sonoma County, and this is our production facility. And right here is where all the magic starts to happen. When we bring in the fresh grapes from the vineyard, we load them right here into this hopper, berries and stems and all, and this hopper and the elevator that's attached to it bring them all the way up to the destemmer. They hit the belt on the destemmer and come all the way up here to where these rotating fingers actually push the good berries through the holes in the belt. Good berries coming down here, and we have stems being ejected out the top. Grapes come out of the destemmer and either into a sump in a pump or into a large bin, and I either dump the grapes into an open top tank or I'll pump them into a closed top tank. And this is where all the fermentation magic happens. We add the yeast and the fermentation just goes, kind of like how we do with home wine making in a glass carboy. When we make red wines, the process is a little bit different from the white wines in that I've already fermented the skins and the seeds and the juice all together all in one tank. When it's done fermenting, I take the skins and the new wine out of the tank and I throw it here into this press. The press then squeezes that pumice out, and then the new red wine gets pressed down into this press pan and pumped out to barrel. Inside these barrels is another really interesting thing. They're fire toasted, which means that if you looked inside the barrel, you'd see almost a char, not quite the char that you get out of a whiskey barrel, but it's really deeply toasted, and that toast gives a lot of great nuance to the wine in flavor and body and aroma and color. This is kind of like what we used in home wine making, the little chips, oak chips. This is exactly the same. If you took these barrels and cut them up into little cubes, this is the same thing, except I put the wine into these barrels. Some of the wines that we're going to taste today have had the chance to age for a long time in these barrels. Some of the wines, like our homemade wine, it's brand new. It hasn't had the chance to touch a barrel at all, so it doesn't have any of that richness or the flavor or any of the body of that. So we'll talk about some of those differences in the tasting we're about to do. All right, guys, here we have our homemade red wine and professionally made red wine. So pick up the glass on your left. That's the homemade wine. All right. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. It tastes like a new wine to me. From a winemaker's point of view, it tastes like wine right out of the fermentation tank. And that's basically what this is. You know, this wine came right out of the carboy and into the glass. It's not been aged or anything. It's just, just a baby wine.
Took me right back to college.
You have one of these in your dorm room?
Well, I had a roommate that bought the cheapest wine possible.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a little puckering that my mouth does when I drink it. And is that just because it's young, or is that because of the way it's made, or? Yeah,
well, it's both. You know, the grapes naturally have a lot of acid in them, and that malolactic fermentation I was talking about earlier, that happens all the way through to completion in just about every red wine. So that still needs to happen here. That's why it tastes a little bit acidic, a little bit puckery right now from acid. The malolactic bacteria, what needs to happen is that they need to go in and eat all that malic acid and convert it into lactic acid so it softens the mouthfeel. The other thing that needs to happen to this wine is it needs to age for many more months in order to really replicate a professional wine, or to finish its aging process to be called a totally done finished wine. Speaking of which, let's taste it.
All right. Wow.
So you can see there's just a big difference in terms of how smooth it is. The aroma of oak, sort of a smoky and also fruity aroma, and then the tannins really come out too, sort of wicking a little bit of moisture away from your tongue, but it's not an acidic sort of bite. It's a smooth sort of grip on your mouth.
I get a lot of like floral notes in this one. Is that?
Absolutely. I mean, that's
just what I get.
Yeah, there's lots of that come out. Lots of fruit, lots of floral, lots of like wood and smoke.
Yep, I can taste that wood a little bit too. It's good.
Makes good wine.
Well, I think you and Isaac did a really great job on the home wine.
All right, thanks. It was so much fun. He had a great time. Oh man. Hey, are you gonna make any homemade wine? What do you think?
I would definitely make it. Yeah.
Would you?
I think so. I can get my hands on some grapes around here.
Yeah. Oh, totally. You can. And you know, I can send Isaac over to your house too.
Perfect. I definitely need an assistant, so I would love that.
Awesome. That's great. Well, thanks for coming along with us as we explored winemaking. I hope you're inspired to try it yourself. You know, it's not that hard. Even a 6-year-old can do it. And don't forget, there are so many resources available to support your homemade food alchemy. Whether you want to pickle, ferment, cure, or curdle, you can continue to explore and unlock the magic of transforming raw ingredients into something that's spoiled to perfection.
Cheers.
Spoiled to Perfection is brought to you by Bubby's. See us online at bubbies.com. And remember to eat my pickles, wear clean underwear, and marry a doctor.